Hello everyone, my name is Hassan and you're welcome once again to Mo's Medical. Alright, so I know it's been a minute since I saw most of you guys, and that's just because I've been preparing for my Step 1 examination. So I took it like 2 weeks ago and thankfully I'm already done and dusted with that particular chapter of my life. So in a couple of weeks time, when the results and everything come out, I'm going to do another video regarding my experience, and my preparation for Step 1. But for today, this video is going to be about the interview I had with Adid, and he goes to RUSM University. So big shout out to Adid, man, because he really went in depth, on everything regarding what a prospective medical student into RUSM University would like to hear. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I'm going to encourage you guys to watch the video in its entirety because, like I said, he went in depth, and I'm sure you guys are going to appreciate his insight on this one. So yeah, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Alright everyone, thank you guys for joining us once again. So as you can see, I have a special guest here with me today. So I'm just going to let him introduce himself and take it from there. So how about you tell us about yourself very quickly?
Sure. My name is Adid. I am a third semester student at RUSM University.
Nice.
I was born and raised in New York, and never thought I would end up going to a Caribbean school, but here I am. I don't regret it. I think it was definitely the right decision for me. I think what sparked my interest into medicine was when I used to work in EMS. I realized that this was my calling, so decided to go down this route, and looking forward to helping you all, attain your dreams as well.
All right, nice. Okay, so you said you go to RUSM University. So what country or island is that university currently in?
So it is in Barbados, which a lot of people are like, whoa, because when we think of Barbados, we're like, wow, that's like a vacation place. Yeah. The island is absolutely beautiful. I love it here. I would much rather it be here than the last island, which was Dominica. So I'm loving it here.
All right, so how did you hear about RUS? And I'm sure there are other Caribbean medical schools you probably have heard about. So how did you hear about RUS, and why did you decide to choose RUS over the other Caribbean medical schools?
Sure. So one of my close friends went to RUS, and he used to always tell me that, I remember before he went to RUS, he used to be like, try not to go down this path because, that whole stigma that we hear about Caribbean schools. And then he went to it, and now he ended up getting a residency in a really good hospital. So after that happened, I was like, oh, this is not some sort of trick for your money. RUS is, there's a lot of reasons why I chose RUS. Our residency match rate every year is about 93 to 95%, which really stands out. And ultimately, I chose RUS. I applied to MUA, SGU, AUA, got into all of them, but it all came down to, I guess, the scholarship. RUS gives a very, very nice scholarship to most students, to be honest. I think my scholarship was over 110,000, which
that's
SGU didn't give me, AUA didn't give me, MUA didn't give me. So to me, that was like, wow, that's like almost 2 years of RUS paid for. And I think the other thing that really was alluring to me was the fact that I was allowed to start in January. I think most other schools, you start conventionally in September. I'm not sure about other Caribbean schools, but RUS literally lets you start in any semester, whether you want to start in January, whether you want to start in May or September. So to me, I was like, wait, so I don't have to wait all the way until September to start medical school. I can start literally next month. That was me in November. So I think every decision ended up leading me to here, and so here I am.
All right, that's nice. As far as you can remember, what are some of the basic entry requirements for a student who wants to go to RUS University?
Sure. So it's very rare that RUS actually rejects anyone. If you are not as qualified, they put you in a program known as MERP, MERP. And that program basically is like a pre-medical school. It's like 2 or 3 months long. They teach you everything that we learn first, second, and third semester. Like it's like a boot camp, so to speak. And you learn pretty much everything. And if you pass that, they accept you into the med school. And if you don't pass that, they actually give you your money back. So it's a great opportunity for people who kind of had their own challenges like I did in undergrad, to have the opportunity to go to medical school. Aside from that, in terms of requirements, my GPA was a 2.7, very low. And I always thought I wasn't going to get into a school, but Ross, I didn't have to go to that program that I was talking about. They just accepted me directly. MCAT, I know some of my friends got in with a 492, 496. I got a really good score. I got a 510, but I think some of my friends had like 3.0, 490, and they got into Ross. So the requirements aren't too bad. I think the other thing that was kind of nice is Ross doesn't need biochem as one of the prerequisites. I think most other med schools need it. So there's a website that has all the requirements. If anyone is interested, I can always send you that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So what about tuition fees? So what can a student expecting to go to Ross University? What can they expect to pay at Ross?
So I don't think it's that expensive, but then again, I'm using loans completely. I think Ross charges maybe 60,000, maybe a little less. I'm not too sure because I just choose the max amount of loans because I can't pay for it. But the good thing is that Ross gives most people a housing scholarship. And if you get a housing scholarship, they'll pay for your entire 2 years here. So yeah, that's a $18,000 scholarship that they pay for. It's really nice. The student housing that they have, there's a shuttle here, groceries, a restaurant, a barbershop. It's like our own little community. And the expenses aren't too bad. But yeah, I think it's about maybe 60,000 a year. I think maybe a little bit more.
I think it must be a year, because 60,000 a year, that's not be a lot.
Probably a year.
Okay. Well, they can always go to the website and just verify that, anyone who's watching right now. But yeah, how is the curriculum like at Ross University?
So it's interesting. We have different tracks, right?
Okay.
So if you're somebody that doesn't really need breaks, that wants to, get off the island as fast as you can, you choose the accelerated track, right? So what the accelerated track means is that instead of finishing in 5 semesters, you finish in 4. So me, I'm on the regular track, the C track, right? And for me, I get every semester, I'll get about 3 to 4 weeks off, somewhere in the middle. Like I'll just randomly get a week off to study. But while I'm off on a break, the people that chose the accelerated track will have to take a whole other module. So I was just on a study break right now, but the three X students ended up doing musculoskeletal 2 in that break that I have. So it's kind of like they don't have breaks because they know that if they have any breaks, they'll maybe waste it. I love breaks. I need a break,
Absolutely.
I need the break. I'm somebody that needs extra time to study. I need to go out, live a little bit too. So I didn't choose that. As for the curriculum, I think it's pretty balanced. Our first semester, we start off with Foundations of Medicine, and that's the first module that we have. And in that, we pretty much go over everything we learned in undergrad, like this Krebs cycle, TCA, glycolysis. You learn all those gel electrophoresis procedures, microbiology, like a little bit of a lot of cell biology. It's more biochem oriented, that first module. And then after that, you do anatomy. You finish anatomy, and then you do immuno. And endocrine. That was your whole first semester.
Okay.
Then second semester, you do GI, you do cardio, you do respiratory, and you do neuroscience. That's
Okay.
the second. My semester, we started with foundations 2, which is all microbiology. You know, you learn about all these different types of bacteria and viruses, knowing if they're like, what exactly they are, if they're motile, coagulase positive, stuff like that, like knowing every part of it. And then we moved on to GI2, renal, and now I'm doing repro 1. So it's kind of like there's different modules every semester, and I think it's pretty fair. I like the way that it's split up. I think Ross gives you pretty much what you need to succeed.
Okay.
It is getting harder, and our final this semester is like NBME style, so little anxious about that. But yeah, I think it's pretty systems based, I would say.
All right, that's good. All right, so the question is the class size. So on average, how large are the classes? How small are they? I know it could probably also vary based on semester of entry as well. So just talk to us a little bit about.
Yeah. I think one of my friends goes to MUA. He said your class is like 30 or 40 or something like that. And I was like, that's unbelievable to me, because my first semester, bro, there was over 300 like 30 people.
Yeah.
And every semester that passes, the numbers go down.
Yes.
Second semester, I had 220. Now third semester, there's like 170. So it's like people keep getting filtered out, or they have to repeat a semester. Mm-hmm. So class size, honestly, is huge. If you're somebody that doesn't want a large class size, don't go to Ross.
Yeah.
Ross they don't have a certain number of students they want to have. They'll just accept everyone. So if you're somebody that wants to have more, I guess, a personable approach to medical school, I think MUA is probably the way to go.
Okay. And why you mentioned about the class size numbers reducing? Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think the numbers reduce every semester?
It's a tough school. Ross really drills you. On my first semester, I struggled a lot. And if you don't meet the passing grade, they give you one opportunity to repeat the semester. You only get one. Okay. If you do end up failing a second time, you have to go through a bunch of paperwork, and it's just a hassle. So a lot of people end up not passing first semester, and they don't make it to second semester. So now the class that was once 350 ends up being 200 something, because so many people are now stuck at first semester, having to do it again. And then, every semester there are always people that end up repeating. So the one thing that I would say that I don't like is the fact that if you do end up repeating a semester, your grade gets factored into everyone else's grade. So what I mean by that is a lot of these students that are repeating a semester end up increasing our average because they've already seen this material before. Yeah. So to me, that's unfair. I think they should not be factored in. I think a real gauge of how we're doing is based on the people that are doing it for the first time. Okay. So I think there's a lot, our repeating rates for semester are pretty high. Okay. I think everyone ends up repeating at least once. Okay. All right, that's good to know. We're going to touch more on the stuff you don't like about the school later on in the series, but thank you for that foreshadowing, at least for now. So a lot of people want to know what the housing on the island is like when they come there the first semester. What kind of housing options are available? Like single room, double rooms, help out with that, or do you have to figure that out yourself? So how is your housing on the island? Is like landlords, pricing, stuff like that? So we live in this villa known as the Villages of Coverly, and they call it on-campus housing, but I don't understand why, because it's still 15 minutes away from campus. Okay. However, Ross does supply a shuttle for you, and it runs maybe every 30 minutes to an hour. So very accessible. However, I decided to get a car because I just want to run on my own schedule. As for the housing, there is no double room. Everyone has their own room at
Okay.
the very least. There is no roommates that you have that share a room with you.
Okay.
However, you'll have housemates. So you can choose whether you want a three-person house or a four-person house.
Okay.
And if you have room A or room D, you have your own bathroom. I have room A. Room A is the biggest room in the house. I got lucky with it. Room D is this, normal sized room, and it has their own bathroom. If you're room B or C, you end up sharing a bathroom together. So I don't like sharing a bathroom. Some people really could care less.
Yeah.
I need my own thing. So that's usually the style of the housing. There's a house next door. Everyone on my block right now are medical students.
Okay.
I know there's no one that's like that doesn't belong here. I kind of like that because you end up getting the whole like community feel, and you don't have to worry about like it's safe. It's us. It's our own people.
Okay.
As for, you can also get your own house. If let's say you have a medical condition and you can't live with people. I have some friends that have that were in military, that have PTSD, that were able to get their own housing. If you submit the right documentation. If you're married, they'll give you your own house for you and your partner. If you have kids, they'll give you your own house. So everything, they'll work with you. You might have to pay more, but at the end of the day, you'll find, I personally love it. Like, my room is great. The only thing that people seem to not like is the fact that sometimes you'll see centipedes, but it's an island. There are exotic bugs here. I haven't seen one yet, but bro, they are there. And they're very nasty, and they don't die no matter what. So I don't know what they were built out of. And as for pricing, I'm pretty sure it's about maybe 4,000-ish per semester, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one semester is how long? For about 3-4 months, would you say? One semester is how long? How long is a semester?
So one semester, let's see, I started in September and I end in December. So October, November, about 3 months.
3-4 months. Okay. All right, cool. And so do you have to go through RUS to get housing, or can you do that independently? Like if you know a landlord on Barbados, for example.
You could do it independently. It's interesting, like the house I'm in, there are some people that own a house here also, and then they put it on Airbnb, and you can do it through them, and it's a lot cheaper from what I hear. Or you don't even have to live in Coverly. You could I have a friend that lives 2 minutes from the school, so they don't care. As long as you have a place to stay, you have a place to stay. You do not have to live with RUS housing.
All right, makes sense. Will you say the island is considered pretty safe? Because that's something some people are worried about. Yeah,
I think it's too safe because, like for instance, I will leave my house and my mask will be a little below my nose. Boom, RUS security comes. Put up your mask. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very safe. Like, if I look outside, there's always a pickup truck, RUS security, just patrolling around, make sure everything is okay. If you get locked out of your room, you call them, they'll come within 3 to 5 minutes. Like, it's very, very safe. Like here, obviously there are parts of the island that you want to try to avoid. I haven't been there yet, but as long as you're within RUS, our housing, it's very safe. You have nothing to worry about.
That's nice. I know the School of Veterinary Medicine is actually on St. Kitts, which is like sister island to MUA, and they actually have the patrol cars. Like, they don't joke with their students at all.
They don't. Yeah, they do not.
Then what about feeding on the island and on campus? So is there like a cafeteria on campus that serves food like 3 times a day? And also feeding on the island, what kind of restaurants do you guys have, grocery stores and stuff like that?
So literally right where I live, if I walk 3 minutes, there's a grocery store called Massey's, and that's where we all go. It's a little expensive for stuff. Like, when I first got here, I couldn't believe it. I bought Cinnamon Toast Crunch for like $13. It should not be that much.
At US dollars.
Yeah, US. Okay. Yeah. So the conversion is $1 US is $2 Bayesian dollars, right? So it's half. But it's a little expensive, but it's here. There's restaurants all over our area too. We have Chinese food, sushi. We have like burgers. We have chicken. Like there's everything here, to be honest. There's a gas station that stays open late. I think most of my stuff comes from the gas station. They have like energy drinks, Red Bull, like it's honestly everything is at our disposal. And right now, our curfew is midnight. So it used to be 9 p.m. And I'm telling you, it was horrible when it was 9 p.m. But now that it's midnight, I feel like we actually are able to go out. Like I like to go on late night walks, you know, like I think 9 p.m. is way too early. So I'm really happy that they pushed it. As for food on campus, the food on campus is amazing. Like I'm telling you, like I'm shocked at how good it is. They'll have jerk chicken, they'll have like just amazing food that's very ethnic, and I love it. It's like for $12 to $15 you can get a full plate. It's like buffet style. They also have a pizza place, a wrap place. They have a coffee shop on campus called The Bean. But I think the coolest addition to Barbados is we just opened up a Starbucks. And it's literally a 2-minute walk from campus. And we pretty much give them all the business. It's like a real Starbucks. So whatever drinks you get in the US, you can get it too.
That's nice.
And they're doing good. Like their business is booming because of us. So I think it was very smart to do that.
Okay. So how well would you say RUSM University prepares their students to take the USMLE Step 1?
I think they do a phenomenal job, honestly. Like I struggle a lot because they demand so much from us.
Okay.
But I've heard from just about everyone that they drill you so hard that when it's time for you to take your comp or your step, you are able to actually do a great job on it and pass. So I appreciate that they push us now so that later on it doesn't feel like hell. So I do think they do a really good job with that.
Okay, nice. Like the exams, like how are things evaluated? You know, what are the exams like? You know, I know sometimes some schools they have just MBMEs. Some they have like exams that are set by professors, then an MBME after. So just tell us about how evaluation works, you know, at your school.
Sure. So you're asking what exams are like?
Yes. How's it evaluated? If it's just solely on exams, you have presentations to do, stuff like that.
Sure. So we call our exams minis, which to me is weird because it's everything but mini. It's like crazy, right? Our first ever exam, first semester, was 100 questions long. And to me, I was like, whoa, like I couldn't believe it. The second exam was like 130, then 150, and then our final was like 165. And these feel like MCATs, like it takes 4 hours to do, you know what I mean? It's exhausting and there's no break. Our second exam, we had an anatomy practical, 50 questions, fill in the blanks. You have to spell muscles right, arteries right. If you spell even one letter wrong, you get the whole thing wrong. Like it's very difficult. After that, they gave you a 10-minute break and then boom, you had to do the exam, which was 125 to 135 questions nonstop. It's very tiring. It's exhausting. But one thing that I hear about other Caribbean schools that's different from us is that some of them, actually not even Caribbean, but some of my friends in like US med schools talk about how their finals are not cumulative, right? For us, however,
that's the first time I'm hearing that. Maybe US, but I've never heard that even in the Caribbean either. All I've interviewed, I've never heard that before. So
are your exams cumulative?
Yeah, so we have we have about 5 blocks set by the professors. Then the final exam is a cumulative exam from the first block up onto the last one.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, the final, where you have to be like, whoa, I have 1 week to like get everything down, and it's exhausting. And the exams are hard, some of the hardest exams I've ever taken in my life, but you have to figure out how to study and what works, you know? It's not about how many hours you put in, it's about how smart you study, right?
Okay. And so what I'm hearing is that you said, is it like 3 minis and 1 final, or 2 minis and 1 final?
Always. It's always 3 minis, 1 final, except Second semester, aside from that, you also have one clinical final where you get a patient, like a fake patient, but it's an actor, and you pretty much have to do the whole medical interview, and just just do all the steps that we have to do, where you get the chief complaint, physical exam. So there's that second semester. And third semester, we have 3 minis, 2 finals. It's 2 finals because they split up the final by module. So one final will have 2 of the modules we learn. The other final will have the 2 other modules. But yeah, it's usually three minis and 1 final.
Okay, and they're all set by the in-house profs that teach you guys the material.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys have any MBMEs at all towards the end for any particular course?
Nah, just 5th semester. Like, you'll get to, we have to take the comp. So like usually when you're 4th or 5th semester, they start letting you take practice ones. It's free. So a lot of people decide to sit in those, but the only NBME style thing that you have during your basic sciences years are just the comp exam. That's really it, nothing else.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Okay, so the next question is actually how easy and fair are the exams, but I think you've touched on that. You said they are pretty challenging to a significant.
If we rated it from a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most difficult, I would rate it a 9. Yeah.
Okay. Why? What do you think makes them challenging? Why is it that the questions are hard? What exactly makes them challenging?
I feel like they don't really test you on if you know your material. They test you on like if you're paying attention to small details. For instance, like sometimes, because like usually our rule is for every hour lecture, they ask us 2 questions from every hour lecture. So if one lecture was 4 hours, we would get 8 questions, right, from that lecture. Sometimes I feel like a lecture, we learn so many things in that lecture, and the 2 questions they decided to ask from that lecture are something so stupid that doesn't even test you on whether you know the concepts or not. And to me, it's like, are you trying to really test me, or are you trying to trick me? You know what I mean? And everyone will tell you that. They'll be like, why would they ask us that? There were so many other things that they could have asked us. So, we hear this term a lot as Caribbean students, high yield, right? So like you have to talk to upper semester students and be like, do I need to know this? Because a lot of the times you don't need to know it, because I think they just, stick their hand in a question bank and they just choose whatever they want to ask, right? It's just things that are high yield. So I think that's the part that is really, that's the part to me that's really it's really difficult. Yeah.
What happens if a student fails a course? Again, you touched on this earlier on. Can I give more details? So if a student fails, cardio or something, for example, what happens? Are there any remedial exams, stuff like that? And
so
stuff like that.
Let's say, since I said we have 3 minis and 1 final, right? Let's say on the first mini you end up getting like a 40.
Okay.
Right? Nothing will happen to you, because the way ROS works is they want to see how you end, what you end with. So if you start with a 40, I've had friends that got 40s on exams but still ended up passing the semester. So if that's the case, you're perfectly fine. They'll never question you, or on your transcript it'll never say you got a 40. It doesn't matter. All that's there is your final grade, right? However, if by the end, let's say our passing, because we have, I don't know if MUA has this, but we have an MPS, right? So like the minimum passing score, ROS uses this method known as the Hofstee method, right? So yeah, they'll like see what our averages are, and then they'll make a calculation as to what our passing grade is. It's supposed to be a 70, right? However, let's say everybody gets like horrible scores, then they'll curve it and it usually ends up being a 65 for the most part, right? Let's say And if you get a 64.5, they round it up to a 65 and you pass. But if you get a 64.4, there's no mercy, you failed.
Okay.
If you fall within 5 points short of the average, right? Let's say you got a 63 and the passing was a 65.
Yeah.
Ross lets you take this exam known as a remediation exam.
Okay.
That exam is basically another final. It's very challenging, but if you get a 70 or above on that exam, you pass. Okay. So it's like a do or die situation. I've had 12 friends take that exam last semester. Only one made it. It's very difficult.
So it's more challenging than a trial exam, would you say?
It's harder than our actual final from what I hear, but it's the same. It's the same concepts. You're only allowed to do that once. After you do that, it's called a remediation. After that, if you've used it, you can't do it ever again. Oh. And if you do end up failing again, you're going to have to repeat. So Ross gives you one chance to repeat, and they won't question you. They won't do anything. But if you do end up repeating a semester, man, from what I hear from my friends, you have to go to these like extra classes where you sit there and talk about, am I studying efficiently? What can, like, you know what I mean? It's like they baby you. It's like, you know, and like, it's like, I should be using this time to study, but instead they want to have me write a 1-page essay about what I'm doing differently. You know what I mean? So if you repeat it, there's a little bit more stuff you have to do, but I mean, I guess it's nice that they don't kick you out. I do have friends that got kicked out because they failed for a second time. I think that's very debilitating and heartbreaking. So if you're somebody that cannot accept, like, you know, a failing grade, don't go to Ross, because they will make you feel like, you know, feel like crap.
All right, so let me just do a quick recap of what you said. So basically, the passing grade varies based on like the general, the average grade of the student, right? Because I know at MUA it's a 70% regardless, but you're saying that at Ross it could vary sometimes based on the performance of the class.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay. Then if, for example, a student fails a course and they fall within 5% of the passing grade, they have the opportunity to take a remediation.
Mm-hmm.
And that remediation happens just once. If you take it in first semester, you can't come back in fourth semester and be like, I failed, can I take a remediation exam?
Exactly.
All right. And if, for example, you fail that remediation exam, you have to repeat. You repeat. Okay, so if you repeat, let's say first semester, you repeat first semester, come your fourth semester and you fail and you have to repeat, then is that allowed, or do you just get one repetition?
Yes.
If you know what I mean. Can you repeat more than once?
You can. Three of my friends are repeating for the second time.
Okay.
And if you do repeat a second time, then you have to get a letter from maybe your doctor. You have to basically have a reason why you didn't pass. A lot of people, you know, use mental health as their reason, or some other condition. You can have some students write a letter on your behalf, vouching for you. I know people that have repeated for a third time and the school let them. It all depends on your situation.
Okay.
So you can, but it's tough.
I see. Yeah. And so when you're repeating, do you just pay for that particular course you're retaking, or do you have to pay for the whole?
So that's the thing. Like, you don't repeat one module, you repeat the entire semester. The entire semester is repeated. So you'll do every single module again that you did.
Even if you didn't fail those ones?
Even if you get a 40 on, if you get, let's say, a 10 on the first exam, 100 on the second, 100 on the third, and 100 on the final, but you still somehow failed, there are people that pass their exams. But remember how I told you there's a clinical final?
Yeah.
Where you have to interview a patient. If you fail that, they'll still fail you for the entire semester, and you have to do the whole entire semester again. To me, that's unfair.
I see. Okay. I know you mentioned the comp you guys have, and that's in fifth semester. So how would you say, what do you have to say about the comp? And also, what was the passing rate like? And if you don't pass, can you come back and retake it? And how long do you have to come back and retake it?
So when I applied to Ross, one of my questions I asked the interviewer was, do we have a comp exam? And they said no, because at that time they discontinued it because of COVID. She didn't tell me all that, right? So I didn't know that it was just discontinued for the time being. I thought, it's gone forever, which was nice. But then when I found out it's back, I was kind of upset because I think you already are very stressed having to take the boards itself, and then I have to take something before that to even qualify it. But then I heard from my friends, almost every school has some sort of exam that they make you take because you want to be ready, right? It's just for you to be safe. So our school gives us a lot of resources. Starting our fourth semester, they give us UWorld for free. They gave us RX for free. Every semester, they'll give you some additional resource, which is nice. It's nice to have these questions. I use RX a lot. I think the questions they give you are a perfect way to study for your exam. And generally, people use UWorld for comp and step. So they do a good job preparing you. However, I would say more than half of fifth semester students fail their comp the first time, but they end up passing second time or third time. It's very rare that you pass the first time. So most of the kids that are on the accelerated track end up passing because they're just a different breed. They're crazy. My roommates are X, and I always call them crazy because they're gunners. Like they see something, they do it. They don't need time off. They will just do exactly what they're supposed to. They end up passing. So I would say a little more than half end up failing the first time.
Okay, so when you are retaking the exam, do you have to wait for like a whole semester, or is it like maybe 2 weeks?
You have to wait, I think, a little over a month. Usually it ends up being maybe 2 months where you have to wait.
Okay. Yeah, because I know for us, it's like just one time per semester. So if you fail it this semester, you have to wait until the next class is taking it, then you just join them. So it's like a whole 4 months. So let us know what kind of things don't you like about Ross University?
Sure. Man, I'm a very honest person, and I always advocate for Ross. I do encourage all my friends to go, but I also want them to know it's not perfect. There are a lot of flaws. The system is not perfect and it's a little broken, and I do want people to know all these things before they make their decision. I think the biggest thing to me is that Ross is a for-profit school. I think like most Caribbean schools, and very, very money hungry, right? You'll randomly see charges in your account and you'll be like, what? Like, I get free housing because I have a scholarship, but then they try to be sneaky and they'll throw in a $4,000 charge for something. And then I'll email them, and my God, it is so hard to reach somebody for help. That is my biggest criticism of Ross. If you need help, if you want to talk to administration, good luck. Like I'm telling you, you'll need to find, you'll need to find where they live and go hunt them down, or they're not gonna help you. For instance, when I lock myself out of my house, right? They'll come in 5 minutes, don't get me wrong, but they charge you $10 to open your door. Like everything is about money for them. Like they always want to talk about how can they profit off of you. You're a commodity to them. If you fail, they'll find somebody else that's willing to pay how much you're paying. They'll fill up your spot like that. So like I said, our class size is huge. They could care less, you know what I mean? They know our students are still going to end up getting residency. The ones that end up making it, they could care less, What else? Aside from that, I think the exams are pretty unfair. I've said that already. I think I would rate it a 9 out of 10 in difficulty. I wish our exams tested us on it, whether like you can ask me anything about a module and I'll tell you everything you need to know. But then I don't do that well on exams. It is very rare that I get above an 80 on an exam. I get what I need to pass, but like, I would like to see what I deserve, Like sometimes last semester I studied maybe 12 to 15 hours a day. I barely got 75, you know what I mean? And it's a pretty defeating feeling, right? So I think that's another one of my criticisms about Ross. I think campus is interesting. Like it's nice and all, it has what you need, but like half of our building is a government building. Like it's they use one side for campus as another side for like a government building, and like sometimes they close the front entrance because the United Nations is there, and it's like, is this a campus or did you just reserve a spot for us to have classes? You know what I mean? It's interesting. Let's see what else is I think our professors are horrible. I'll tell you that. Like it is very, very, very tough for us to find a good professor. Maybe I'll name you one or two out of 15 that I actually do like. I'm telling you, bro, it's to the point where I do not watch lectures anymore. I have not watched a single lecture this whole semester. I just read the slides, I make my own notes, I do questions. I don't watch lectures because I'm telling you, they're awful, absolutely awful. That would be, I guess, my biggest criticism of Ross. Aside from that, the people that are here, amazing. I love some of my best friends ended up being here. Some of the smartest people I've ever met ended up being here. I love the island. It's so much nicer than what some of my friends tell me about their island in the Caribbean. And everything that you need is here, to be honest. If you have T-Mobile, you don't need to get a phone service. It works here. And a flight to New York cost me only $200. It's pretty cheap to come here too, as opposed to most other islands. So yeah, overall, I don't regret my decision to come here. I wish it was some of my complaints could be resolved, but at the end of the day, I know what I signed up for, and sometimes you can't get everything that you want, but you trust God in that. Yep. This is what he wanted for you, and it'll all work out. We all have our own paths. So whether you go to NUA, Ross, SGU, or even one of the schools that nobody has heard of, if you do everything in your power to, do what you have to, you'll get residency. You'll get what you deserve. So even if you don't get the grade that you deserve on an exam, our goal at the end of the day is to match, right? Mm-hmm. And you will match as long as you put in the time and you don't give up.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for that detailed. It seems like you really let your heart out on some of these things.
The one thing that I would love to change is I guess how responsive Ross is in terms of what we need. So, I'll get a bunch of emails talking about how I have a hold on my account, and then I'll reach out to them and I'll be like, what do I have to do? And I don't get an answer, So if there was one thing that I could change, it would be communication, be there for us. If you want us to do something, help us, we're in a country we've never been in before. We need that help. So I think communication is definitely the one thing that I would change about this school. I know I could say make the exams easier, but at the end of the day, it's competitive, and sometimes I enjoy how difficult it is, because if you do end up doing well, man, it's such a good feeling. Such a good feeling.
All right, thank you very, very much, honestly, for taking the time to do this, and also for being very transparent and honest. I think a lot of Caribbean medical students actually benefit from that transparency, because people are paying money, people are literally, traveling miles down, people are putting holds on their life, and the least that we could do is to create exposure and just make them know what exactly they're signing up for. People are going to hear this, and if they decide to come, they're going to come and they prepare for what they're going to face, right? So I really, really appreciate you being very transparent there.
Absolutely.
So that's the last question I have. In case anyone wants to reach out to you or maybe contact you, maybe to ask more questions that I haven't really covered, how can they contact you, pretty much?
Sure, they can, just the way you did. They could find my Instagram. I could give you my number, my email. Okay. I'm somebody that uses social media to help others. So I can give you all the details. Maybe you can put it in the description on YouTube or wherever you post this.
Yes.
And
Just say your Instagram handle so they can see. I'm also going to post that on the video as well. But just tell us what your Instagram.
Sure. It's my first name and last name. So it's Aidid Ali, EYDIDALI. So literally it.
All right.
You'll find me. I'm a public account.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All
definitely
right.
give it a follow.
Yes. Thank you very much again for joining me to do this. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And I wish you the very best in the rest of your semester.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.